Good evening. I trust that you really had a good Easter holiday this week. This particular gospel that we heard today, the story of Thomas, the Didymus, the doubting Thomas, which is very common, which we hear all the time in the gospel stories. I really like this gospel because makes the experience of Thomas and Jesus becomes more humane. There's a lot of touch of humanity in this particular gospel that is relatable, particularly with the doubt. I admire Thomas' reaction. Unless I see the wounds of Christ and touch them, I will not believe. What I admire about this is Thomas's boldness to say what's in his mind and what's in his heart. Doubts always clouds our minds, our hearts, and sometimes it paralyzes us, but yet Thomas' reaction gives us something that we can practice in our faith. We have to say what we feel, and we have to say what we want to our God. Not we are playing guessing games with God, even though God knows what we want and what we need. I think being bold to what we want is for us to be expressive as human beings as possible. But have you ever think about this? Jesus appeared 3 times already before this gospel reading. But where are the other disciples? Where was Thomas when Jesus appeared the first place? Have you ever think about that? I think the question or the answer for that is Jesus' disciples were dispersed because their fear for their lives and they feared to be arrested and be crucified themselves. That's why they disappeared. The funny thing is Jesus has a power to bring us together, the community of disciples. But when Jesus disappeared, people dispersed. And that's what happened to the disciples. Because of their fear, doubt started entering their hearts. And come to think of it, what I love this particular gospel as well is the second part of the story when Jesus breathed on the disciples, said, "Peace be with you, receive the Holy Spirit." Where in the scriptures you heard that before? Can you guess? In the Old Testament, in the Genesis story, the story of creation, when Yahweh breathed on the clay, that Adam becomes our father. Yahweh breathed on this clay and he said, "Ruah, the breath of God is with you. Be alive." And what I'm thinking is, in the biblical scholarship, this particular gospel is a mirror of the creation story. Resurrection is re-energizing renewal of our faith. But mind you, I love this gospel because the disciples learn this not just in a hard way, but a process. From the boat till the table, till the upper room again, Jesus appeared. They relearn all their mistakes and knowing that God is alive. What do I mean by that? The disciples arrived to be who they are. For all of us, you arrive of who you are today because of your experiences in life. Last Sunday, we have a Catholic marathon which we call Easter. One of the parishioners who are here is related to my former classmates in high school back in the Philippines. And yesterday, I received a text from this person who's our parishioner who forwarded the text from my former classmate in high school. And it says in the text, "Marlon, are you really a priest?" Story of my life. It happens all the time. People recognize me wherever I go, but They could not believe that I'm doing what I'm doing right now. As I said, we arrived on who we are today because of the experience we have in life. And one experience that I can give you to think about this is the wounds of Christ. I have another question for you. Why do you think Jesus resurrected when his wounds still open and visible? He can be resurrected, healed. All the wounds are healed. The sides are healed as well. But why? I read and read and read about this and reflect on this. Because the wounds of Christ is also connected to the wounds of humanity. When we experience hardship, when we experience joy, marriage, quinceañera, birthday, we do it as a community. If your hurt or your wounds is shared, it's easier to carry. And that's what I learned about this resurrection story. And that's why the wounds of Christ still open. For Thomas and the other disciples, wounds will connect to Jesus. What I want you to do this week, if you can, look at your wounds that you acquire in your life. Whether you're young, whether you're middle-aged, whether you're elderly, men, women, whatever. Look at your wounds, but also connect that wound to Christ. I want you to connect it to Christ, not crucified. Connect it to the Christ who is resurrected, who is joyfully resurrected, happy and glorious. Because the first line in the gospel story that we heard today, on the first day of the week, is the same line in Genesis. The first day, God created light. Resurrection is about light. Your wounds, our wounds, my wounds, if it is connected with Christ, light will shine. Lastly, I want you to share and encourage you. Jesus said, "Peace be with you," 3 times. The disciples accepted it because the Spirit is within them. When we do or give the kiss of peace, don't do what Filipino does, or Father Marlon when I was younger. You just bow. What I want you to do, if you can, reach out and shake that person's hands tightly, because you'll never know what your neighbor or the person next to you is dealing with. Maybe their wounds is so fresh and so open. Holding their hands tight may be an option or give us healing, even in this hour service here at our church. So, when we do the kiss of peace, do the resurrected way, not the tomb's way that we just bow. Do it lively, lovingly, and kindly. Because when you touch someone's hand, their heart becomes healed. And this is the reason why the women of the tomb is going to anoint Jesus' body. Because in their mind, Jesus needs healing himself. For all of us who's carrying something in our lives, crosses in our life, offer them today and share it to the person next to you. May God bless us all this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And for the kids who are going back to school, I'm so happy you're going back. I'll pray for you tonight. Thank you all.